Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by Tachi Palace Fights Bantamweight champion Ian Loveland. Ian, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Ian, one question I like to ask a lot of the fighters that I interview is how they got their nickname, and you have a pretty unique nickname, the Barn Owl. How did you get this nickname?
I don't know. People just started calling me that years ago. I've been being called the Barn Owl for like almost 10 years now, so hard to keep track.
And now to the fight. September 7th, Tachi Palace Fights 14. How's training been going for this fight?
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. It's the best training camp I've put together so far.
Is today the last day of hard training?
The last day of really hard training for me was, let's see, what day is today? Friday was yesterday.
And now you're training at Sports Labs. Who are some guys that are helping you get ready for the fight?
My main training partners, Tyson Nam, Dave Jansen, Ben Vincent, Damon Wood, Mike Pierce. I got a pretty good group of guys out there with me.
You were at Team Quest for a long time. Now you changed over to Sports Labs. Why did you decide to make the change?
Sometimes you just need a little bit of change in pace, different looks, different ways to train. I think something that I had been missing a lot through my career was a real foundation in conditioning, and that's the main reason I went over to Sports Labs, to work with Phil Claude and get myself in peak physical shape, and that's exactly what's happened. I feel like I'm a much better fighter now because of it.
Now your opponent, Casey Olson, what are your thoughts about him as an opponent, and talk a little bit about the matchup. Where do you see the fight going?
Well, he seems like a tough guy. I saw his most recent fight at Tachi on the internet, and looks like he's a pretty good wrestler. I think that I've got quite a big advantage in striking, and I think on the ground I've got a pretty good advantage too. So wherever the fight goes, I'm not too worried about it. I'm pretty sure that if he's real anxious to get the takedown and really fights for it real hard, I'm going to end up on top of him. So I think I can stop the fight, on the feet or on the ground.
Ian, you're the champion, but Casey, he's from that area. This is basically, you're going to be fighting him in his hometown. Who do you think has more pressure on them? Is it you because you're the champion, or is it him because he's got to deal with being in front of his home crowd and a lot of people expecting him to win?
I don't know. I don't feel a whole lot of pressure, so I'm sure he feels more pressure than me. I've fought on bigger stages than him. I've fought tougher guys than he has, and I'm by far the toughest guy that he's ever faced. So this is a real unknown for him, whereas it's just another day for me.
Where does he rank amongst the guys that you fought in the past? Because you mentioned you fought tough guys, which you have, Joseph Benavidez, Brian Caraway, etc., of guys that you fought before. Where does he rank?
I don't know. We'll find out next week. I've only been able to find one of his fights to watch, but I don't see anything that I haven't seen before. I'm not taking him lightly. I've prepared myself for this fight, but I think I've seen what he has to offer, in competition before, and I don't think he's seen a fighter like me. I know he hasn't.
There's that old saying, "You're not the champion until you defend the belt." Do you believe in that at all?
I don't know. I don't really care about being the champ. I just, I'm just looking to win fights, and I want to be the best. The belt's just kind of, it's nice, but that's not why I'm fighting. I want to beat everybody. I want to be the best in the world.
Ian, right now is your main goal to continue to win fights and make the move back to the UFC?
Yeah, for sure. I want to make a ton of money and not have to work anymore. Obviously, I want to prove to myself that I'm the best, and I still got a lot of years in the sport left in me, and I think Tachi Palace is helping me get back into the UFC right now. I think I'm on the right track.
Does the belt mean anything to you, or is it just one of those things you need to have to eventually make that jump back to the UFC?
I mean, it's nice. More importantly than the belt is getting quality opponents to fight. And that if you're the champ, you're obviously going to be fighting the better guys. And so in that sense, it's important. But really, it's about quality of opponents for me. I want tough fights. I want good fights, and Tachi's been doing that for me. They got me, two tough guys, and I think it's going to help me propel my career.
This is your second fight for Tachi. When you go out there, do they fly you in, or do you have to drive?
Well, I drove last time. This time they're flying me in. Last time was kind of a short notice thing.
Mm-hmm. And this is going to be your fourth fight at Bantamweight. Has the weight cut gotten easier from fight to fight?
Yeah, easier and easier every time.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ian, one thing that's surprising is your UFC run. You were 1-2, which we've definitely seen worse. We've seen guys who are 0-3, 1-3, but you fought two really tough guys at the end there, Joseph Benavidez and Yves Jabouin. Were you surprised that you were released so quickly?
Not really. I kind of expected to get released after losing 2 in a row. I mean, that's grounds for cutting a guy. I mean, they were both close fights. The Jabouin fight, obviously closer than the Benavidez fight, but I wasn't surprised. They had every right to cut me.
Mm-hmm. Usually when somebody wins the Tachi Palace Fights belt, that's maybe their ticket to go back to the UFC. We've seen that with a number of guys. Do you feel that a win here gets you back, or do you feel that you'll have to do a couple more fights and a couple more wins to get back there?
I don't know. I can't speak for the UFC. I mean, I know I'm ready, and after I beat Casey, there's a good chance that they're going to want to get me back in there. So that's the goal.
When they released you, did they just give you the standard go out and win some more fights, or did they just say nothing and you just got the release and now you're here?
No, yeah, basically, I mean, that was my understanding. Go out and win some fights and look good, and we'll reevaluate down the road.
Mm-hmm. Was it heartbreaking for you that you got that release, or was it you felt disappointed for like a week and then you decided to move on? What does a fighter go through when they're released from a top organization? I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, it makes you take a look at what you've been doing and what you can change, certainly. So, I mean, it was a good thing for me. I kind of was in a rut with my training. I hadn't really progressed a whole lot. So it drove me to change some things and kind of restructure what I'm doing. And, I'm a much better fighter now than I was when I left the UFC. Mm. So, I mean, no harm done.
Mm. Not to look too far ahead, but should you pick up a win here, are you just solely focused on trying to get back to the UFC, or are you open to maybe, say, a Bellator, if they come in and say, hey, we want to sign you, put you in a tournament, would you be open to doing something like that?
I mean, the UFC is the goal. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt in my mind that I can compete with those guys. I think I've already shown that I can compete with those guys. And, I'm much better than I was when I was in the UFC the first time. I don't really see a reason to do anything but UFC, post Tachi Palace, and but you never know. Maybe they don't like me, so maybe they don't ever want to hire me again. That would certainly drive me to other organizations, but the UFC is where I want to be.
Right. September 7th, Tachi Palace Fights 14. How does the fight end?
I'm going to knock him out, standing on the ground. Mm-hmm. Knockout or TKO. He's going to get finished.
Mm-hmm. Ian, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you would like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
I don't know who my sponsors are yet for this fight. I probably should. I haven't got an email or anything. So, show up Tachi Palace and watch me knock Casey Olsen out.
Ian, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck at Tachi Palace Fights 14 against Casey Olsen.
Thanks, man. Take it easy.